Joe Burrow, you come on national television on first take during Super Bowl week. Yo, we got to pay Jamar Chase. Yo, we got to pay T. Higgins. Yo, we got to pay Trey Anderson. And they got all three of them signed. All three of them. We only thought it was going to be one. Probably needed to let go of another like T. Higgins, let him go somewhere else, get some equitable compensation in return for his services. Maybe not Henderson either. The defense stuck with them anyway. So what they going to do without him, even though he had 35 sacks, 4.5 more than anybody else over the last 2 years? You still looked at them and you said, yo, might not be enough. Got all three of them signed anyway. You got to win the first week, two weeks of the season. You just got to.
Yeah, you got to win, but winning the first 2 weeks of this season tells me nothing about the Cincinnati Bengals. It tells me that they've worked to fix some of the issues they've had in week 1 and week 2. But I believe
before you continue, would losing tell you something?
Yes.
That's what I wanted to hear.
If they lose the first 2, the season's over.
I agree.
And I know that feels hyperbolic. It feels like we're overreacting, but you play the Jaguars and the Browns. You play the Browns week 1, the Jaguars week 2. You know who you play after that, though? You play the Vikings, the Broncos, the Lions, the Packers, and the Steelers before you play the Jets. And I said all of those teams, and you still haven't played the Ravens at all. So if this team starts 0-2, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
If this team starts 0-2, let's think to ourselves, okay, we need to rebuild the coaching staff, because you know what you can't change? You're not going to be able to change the roster. Because so much money has already been sunken into the quarterback, into both wide receivers. Trey Hendrickson is going to have to go somewhere else if he wants a long, big, extensive deal. And so to me, the way they start this season only tells me who they are if they lose them. Because if they lose them, we have to move on from the Cincinnati Bengals as a team that can contend for an AFC championship.
I'm totally in lockstep with you guys. It also would mean if they start 0-2, Joe Burrow is going to go 3 straight years not making the playoffs. We just don't. We don't have greats at that position in that league go that long without being in the playoffs. I think the last guy was Drew Brees. I think did it 3 years in a row when they went like 8-8 in New Orleans. Steven, so the Bengals kind of like our two-tiered team. We've talked about how bad the defense was last year, but the start was in part to the offense. They've been bad the last 3 seasons to start the season. That offense, that is absolutely sensational. In the first 2 weeks of the season, they're bottom 5 in touchdowns, they're bottom 5 in points per game, they're bottom 5 in yards per play. Part of that, if we're just being like transparent and fair, Joe's been hurt.
Yes.
Joe hasn't had an offseason. Joe has been, it was the wrist, it was the calf. And so this is, in his words, the best he's felt maybe ever in his NFL career. Okay. And he played in the preseason. So that offense should hit the ground running and look like it did most of last year. Okay. So, I do want to agree with the offense, but in part because of the injuries. I do think that the defense will be the focal point of what it looks like in the first 2 weeks. To RC's point, if we can't defensively play better, and I love Joe Flacco, he's had a great career. If we can't play better against the Cleveland Brown offense and Jacksonville's offense,
we're in trouble.
And I don't keeping it real. I don't care if they're 2-0. But if they're giving up 27, 28 to those two teams, and Joe somehow goes and scores 30 and they win, it's still going to be concerning to me.
But that's why I was saying, though, winning those games doesn't mean that much.
What it looks like.
It's what it looks like, right? It's what it feels like. But the other piece on the games from last year, think about this. It's the fumble going into the end zone against the New England Patriots. It's Joe Burrow fumbling the ball and the scoop by the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Yeah. It's the pass interference late. And so it's how do you find ways to make those small plays, right? Yeah. The minute details that goes into wins and losses, because I don't think we thoroughly covered why they lost early last season.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear. I know that if they win the first 2 or 3 games, doesn't mean that they're a lock to win the division or anything like that. What I'm saying is they can't lose.
Agreed.
They cannot start the way that they have started for over the vast majority of the last 6 years. It cannot happen. I'm telling you right now, if I'm ownership and we miss the playoffs and I get to look back and we started 0-2 or 0-3, I am firing this coach. Because you cannot continue
in season. You're saying
no. I didn't say that. In season,
gotcha.
I said they lose 2 of the first, 2 of the 0-2 or 0-3, and they end up missing the playoffs.
I got you.
He is not coming back.
Well, if they're
not coming back.
If they're 0-2, they're not going to make the playoffs.
There you go.
Because that means that there's something defective.
They're 5 games
with this team.
Yeah, they're 5 games after that 2-game stretch.
Yeah.
Whew.
Bengals favored by 5.5 in this one, guys. I cannot wait for this next debate. I hope you stick around. Arch Manning got off to a disappointing start versus Ohio State. Do we still consider him a generational quarterback? Spoiler alert, we don't disagree. The Cowboys offense added George Pickens in the offseason. Will they actually be a problem?
For the 2024 World Champs, that's it. We're not defending.
When the season's over, we move on.
Judgment on the outside. I don't care if he did everything he needed to do for us to win the game.
If you don't want to win a Super Bowl or don't think we can win a Super Bowl, then don't come to Oxnard.
We're not going to win a championship with just one person.
It's NFL and it's game one. Doesn't matter who the hell you're going against.
Let's go! We're here.
The Cowboys offense will be looking to bounce back this season after a rough 2024 campaign where Dak Prescott missed 9 games. However, expectations high on that side of the ball this year with the addition of George Pickens, Javonte Williams. Dallas will hope to get their high-scoring offense back on track. Dan, will the Dallas offense be a problem for Philly's defense tonight?
I think it can. I think there's 2 specific ways it has to.
Tell me.
I've said number 1, there's a little bit of unknown about Dallas's offense. Okay, Brian Schottenheimer is the new head coach. He's calling the plays. He hasn't done it in 5 years. So if you're the Eagles defense, you're like, I don't really know who they're going to be. All offseason, we've heard Schottenheimer say, like, we want to modernize the offense. There wants to be more motions, more condensed formations, more shifts, different personnel groupings. So if you're Philly, you're kind of guessing of what that's going to look like. So I think if Dallas does that and uses no-huddle tempo, forces communication by the Eagles defense with some new pieces in their secondary at home with the crowd noise loud, that could be advantage Dallas. I'd also say this, and maybe I'm in a smaller group of this, I think George Pickens is still ridiculously talented. I think he's one of the most talented, physically talented receivers in the NFL. He would get 12-plus targets for me tonight. Darius Slay's no longer in Philly. Darius Slay's going to be a potential Hall of Famer. And Adoree Jackson, who should be opposite Quinyon Mitchell, their second-year corner. Adoree's played in the NFL a long time, good player, but he's not Slay. And so I think if Dallas can use some tempo, hit some shots down the field, and let George be a huge impact in this game, yeah, I think they can give Philadelphia the Eagles defense some problems, especially early on.
I agree with you, believe it or not, at least for the first 3 quarters. I would tell you this. I think, like I said earlier, I think the Eagles going to run away with it late. I think Dak Prescott's going to throw about 2 interceptions, but that doesn't mean numbers-wise he's not going to have a big enough game, certainly with the CeeDee Lamb and a George Pickens as a target. And let's not get Ferguson as well at the tight end spot.
Yeah.
I get all of that, right? My thing is this. If you are the Philadelphia Eagles defense, you want to get to Dak. Dak hasn't been running with the football over the last few years, not nearly as much as he ran earlier on in his career.
Sure.
And some believe that has been an impediment to the kind of success that he's capable of enjoying. That's number 1. Number 2, how stout is Dallas's offensive line? We don't know about that yet, okay? That's number 2. Number 3, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles offense, I'm testing Trayvon Diggs. I mean, obviously, he had an injury. He's coming back from it, what have you. If he's expected to be out there or whatever, I'm testing that, okay? I'm testing that.